course. Yes, I took it. Yes, I did it quickly, but as I've always said, life is first come, first served. I understand that some people might not like it, but please, let's not make a global scandal out of the hat. It's just a hat. If you were faster, you would have it.
For most people, the smart move after a viral humiliation is simple. Apologize, repair the damage, and move.
A millionaire CEO didn't just cheer at the US Open, he snatched a child's gift on live TV, and now he's threatening to sue the entire internet for catching him in 4K. The man who swiped a boy's hat like it was contraband is suddenly crying victim. But the drama goes way deeper than one stolen souvenir. When the cameras panned to Polish player Kamil Majtrzak after his grueling 5-set victory, the moment was supposed to be pure magic. He pulled off his sweaty game-worn cap and offered it straight to a young fan pressed against the railing, a once-in-a-lifetime gesture. But before the kid could even close his hand around it, a man in a tailored suit lunged forward like a thief in broad daylight. That man was Pietro Garrick, millionaire CEO of a paving empire who stuffed the cap into his luxury bag with the arrogance of someone who thinks rules don't apply to him. The boy just froze in shock, and within hours the clip exploded across TikTok and YouTube. What should have been an uplifting sports highlight instantly flipped into a viral nightmare, one that named and shamed Garrick worldwide. For most CEOs, this was the perfect chance to save face, apologize, return the hat, maybe even cut a check for charity. But not Garrick. He doubled down instead. Insiders say he ranted to colleagues that the internet was bullying him and even hinted at suing for defamation. Fans were floored. The man caught red-handed on international broadcast was now painting himself as the victim. That contradiction only made the backlash nastier. Reddit threads branded him the hat heist CEO. TikTok editors mocked him by splicing the footage with cartoon villains snatching candy from kids. Memes rained down non-stop. And while Majtrzak eventually tracked the boy down and gave him another signed cap, the damage was done. Garrick's name was now cemented as the grown man who robbed a child and then tried to play the victim card. But the real question lingered. Why would a man worth millions risk it all over a $30 hat? And what made him think he could actually silence the internet? Because if there's one thing people online agree on, it's this: and the internet doesn't forgive, and it definitely doesn't forget. Within hours of that clip hitting Twitter, Pietro Garrick was no longer just a CEO. He was the internet's favorite villain. TikTok edits turned him into the main character nobody wanted to be. Some looped the moment he lunged for the cap with goofy cartoon sound effects, while others slowed it frame by frame, plastering captions like, "When your net worth is $20 million, but you still want free merch."
But also some much-needed damage control. The businessman's paving company has been bombed by negative reviews, and there has been a chorus of critics online calling for his head.
The boy's shocked face became the symbol of innocence stolen, while Garrick's smug grin was recycled into endless memes that spread like wildfire. What started as a single viral video spiraled into a full-blown digital avalanche. Every refresh of the timeline came with a new joke, a harsher punchline, or a brutal remix dragging Garrick deeper. But the internet didn't stop with laughs. Sports blogs jumped in, calling it one of the most disgraceful fan moments in tennis history. Reddit threads compared it to baseball brawls over foul balls, except this wasn't a crowd scramble. This was a powerful businessman snatching a kid's gift in plain sight. YouTubers dissected every frame, pausing at the exact second Kamil Majtrzak's smile faded once he realized the child never got the cap. On Instagram, angry parents piled on, calling Garrick the worst role model on live TV. The verdict online was vicious. A grown man stealing from a child didn't just cross the line, he erased the line completely. And inside his own empire, the fallout hit just as fast. Employees whispered to reporters that they were embarrassed to even admit where they worked. Dragbrook, his paving firm, got torched on review sites with sarcastic one-star comments like, "They'll steal your driveway the way they stole that hat."
Polish millionaire is speaking out today after facing backlash for stealing a hat from a child at the US Open this week, and it wasn't to apologize.
His communications team scrambled behind the scenes drafting statements, but Garrick? He dug his heels in. Sources said he brushed it off, insisting the scandal would blow over. But it didn't blow over. It blew up. Journalists uncovered his luxury lifestyle, splashing photos of his Rolex collection and flashy cars right beside the clip of him grabbing a hat worth less than one of his steakhouse dinners. The irony was brutal. A millionaire hoarding riches still couldn't resist taking from a kid, and the more he tried to ignore it, the louder the internet screamed. Because this was never just about a hat, it was about ego, entitlement, and how one reckless act can snowball into a reputation collapse. For most people, the playbook after a viral disaster is simple: apologize, make it right, and move on. But insiders revealed Garrick wasn't interested in humility. He chose the exact opposite. According to Polish business outlets, Pietro Garrick wasted no time lawyering up. Within 48 hours of the scandal breaking, he was allegedly on the phone with attorneys, asking if he could sue social media users for character assassination. Word is he even flagged specific viral TikToks accusing them of distorting the truth. But here's the catch, there was nothing distorted about it. The footage wasn't shaky, blurry, or debatable. It was live broadcast in crystal clear HD, showing every second of him ripping joy straight out of a child's hands. No courtroom could erase that image. Instead of clearing his name, these whispers of lawsuits made Garrick look even weaker.
It sent the internet into a spin. A Polish businessman who snatched a signed cap from a young tennis fan has finally apologised. And though the exchange only lasted for a split second at the US Open, it's turned into a major headache for the millionaire days after it was all caught on camera.
Leaked emails later suggested the company even considered
fragile even. Behind closed doors, sources say Dragbrook's leadership was spiraling. One executive, speaking anonymously to a Warsaw tabloid, described the atmosphere as chaotic and tense, with PR teams practically begging Garrick to issue a simple apology. But he refused. He reportedly barked back that admitting guilt would destroy his credibility. In one meeting, he allegedly snapped that the boy's parents should have been watching more closely, shifting blame in a way that stunned his own staff. Then came the leaks. Emails suggested Dragbrook even reached out to a crisis management firm, the same kind politicians call in when they're drowning in scandal. But when Garrick refused to cooperate, the firm allegedly pulled the plug, walking away from what they saw as an impossible client. If true, it meant Garrick was rejecting the very lifelines that might have saved his name from total collapse. And just as he tried to fight the internet, reporters dug up a whole new problem. Dragbrook was already in talks with local governments for multi-million-dollar paving contracts. Suddenly, council members were put on the spot by journalists asking why taxpayer money should flow to a company led by a man turned global meme. One regional paper didn't hold back. They flat out asked, if he can't resist stealing from a child, how can he be trusted not to misuse public funds? That question alone threatened to turn his viral embarrassment into a political disaster.
with the casual arrogance of someone who believed rules didn't apply to him.
Let me introduce you to Douchebag of the Week.
A millionaire CEO broke the heart of a young tennis fan over the weekend when he snatched the cap of star player Camille Madrak from the hands of a child in the stands after the match.
The crowd gasped. The boy froze. And
The scandal that started with one stolen hat was no longer just about a tennis match or a child robbed of a souvenir. It had morphed into something far bigger. By the end of the week, Pietro Garrick wasn't just a meme, he was a walking, talking liability, and his company Dragbrook was suddenly facing questions it had never imagined. At first, the public thought this was just going to be another silly internet story, the type that blows up for a few days and then fades. But this one had legs and it sprinted out of control. Local governments in Poland, the same councils negotiating multi-million-dollar paving deals with Dragbrook, were now in panic mode. Reporters hounded them with tough questions. Why should taxpayer money go to a man who steals from a child on live TV? One journalist asked outside Warsaw City Hall. The clip made it to national television, replayed on primetime news, and suddenly every politician tied to Garrick's company was scrambling to distance themselves. Behind the scenes, whispers spread that certain council members were already looking for ways to quietly back out of Dragbrook contracts. A leaked memo from one municipal office suggested they feared a reputation risk by moving forward with Garrick. Think about that. A paving CEO had become so toxic that politicians were willing to sacrifice lucrative infrastructure projects just to avoid being associated with him. And the hits didn't stop there. Financial analysts began weighing in, warning that Garrick's arrogance could trigger real economic fallout. Business magazines published scathing think pieces with headlines like, "From Pavement to Punchline, How One Hat Could Sink a Millionaire CEO." Investors, nervous about the mounting backlash, reportedly began asking tough questions. Some even started quietly selling shares in Dragbrook's private holdings, betting that the company's value could plummet if Garrick stayed in charge. Meanwhile, the internet kept pouring gasoline on the fire. TikTok creators weren't just looping the original clip anymore. They were digging up every detail of Garrick's lifestyle. Photos of his luxury yacht in Croatia, his custom Rolex collection, and even drone shots of his sprawling mansion surfaced online. Every picture came with captions mocking the absurdity of a man dripping in wealth, yet still greedy enough to steal from a kid. Instagram comment sections turned into digital courtrooms where users blasted him with comments like, "How many hats do you need, bro?" and "Stealing joy is the one thing money can't buy." What made things worse was Garrick's total refusal to take accountability. Insiders claimed he had convinced himself that apologizing would ruin his credibility, but the opposite was happening. His silence and stubbornness looked like guilt. Parents groups across Europe began speaking out, demanding he be barred from any children's sporting events. One viral petition even called for him to be banned from all tennis tournaments until he learns how to behave like a decent human being. The petition racked up over 100,000 signatures in days. Inside Dragbrook, morale sank like a stone. Employees leaked more details to the press, painting a picture of chaos behind the company's polished exterior. According to one worker, office meetings turned into shouting matches as staff debated how to handle the crisis. "It was like watching a ship sink in slow motion," the employee told a tabloid. "We knew we were going down, but the captain refused to admit we'd hit the iceberg." That quote spread like wildfire too, amplifying the narrative that Garrick was in denial while his empire crumbled around him. Even Dragbrook's competitors got in on the fun. One rival construction firm allegedly ran cheeky online ads that said, "We build driveways, not scandals." Another posted a meme of a freshly paved street with a caption, "At least we don't steal hats." The trolling was brutal, but it worked. Several small contracts reportedly shifted to rival firms as clients lost confidence in Dragbrook's image. And then came the political bombshell. A Polish parliamentary committee announced it would review Dragbrook's government deals, citing public concern about the ethical standards of leadership. That was a nightmare scenario. What started as a PR disaster was now teetering on the edge of a legal one. Because if the committee found irregularities or corruption in Dragbrook's dealings, Garrick could be facing not just lost contracts, but investigations that might drag him into court for real. The irony was too rich. He had threatened lawsuits against random TikTokers for memes, but now the lawsuits might come for him. To make matters worse, global media picked up the story, turning Garrick into an international cautionary tale. CNN ran a segment comparing him to infamous corporate villains who let arrogance destroy their careers. The BBC called him the man who paved his road to ruin. American late-night hosts joined in, roasting him with savage monologues. One quipped, "Millionaire steals hat from a kid. This is why Batman exists." The audience howled, and Garrick's humiliation crossed borders, cementing him as a global laughingstock. But here's the wildest part. Even after all this, insiders say Garrick still believed he could ride out the storm. In private meetings, he allegedly told executives that scandals blow over, people forget. Yet the evidence showed otherwise. Each day brought new headlines, new memes, and fresh reasons for investors and partners to cut ties. Instead of fading, the scandal was snowballing into something historic. Dragbrook's board of directors was now under immense pressure. Some members reportedly pushed for Garrick to step down temporarily, at least until the outrage cooled. But he resisted, clinging to power with the same stubborn grip he used on that hat. This only deepened the divide within the company as frustrated board members feared their entire business could collapse under one man's ego. And while Garrick fought to protect his image, the boy at the center of it all became a symbol. Photos of him holding the replacement cap, gifted by Camel Mitrix, spread across the internet, accompanied by captions like, "The kid won, the CEO lost." He became a folk hero of sorts, a reminder that even against money and power, innocence still mattered. That image stung Garrick more than any meme ever could because it cemented the story in people's hearts. By now, the question wasn't just whether Garrick could save his reputation, it was whether Dragbrook itself could survive his stubbornness. Every day he refused to apologize, every time he doubled down, the scandal grew heavier. What began as a hat heist was now a corporate crisis, a political nightmare, and a personal downfall unfolding in real time. The internet had spoken loud and clear. This wasn't just about one hat, it was about greed, arrogance, and entitlement. And unless Garrick changed course fast, his empire of stone and asphalt was about to crack wide open. As the scandal snowballed, it wasn't just Garrick's company or his political ties that took the hit. His personal life was collapsing right alongside it. Suddenly, the man who once flaunted dinner parties, charity galas, and yacht weekends found himself uninvited from the very circles he used to dominate. Friends who once bragged about knowing him quietly stopped returning calls. Insiders say even some of his closest allies cut ties overnight, worried that being seen with him could splash their own reputations in mud. One Warsaw socialite allegedly told a tabloid, "People don't want selfies with the hat thief, they want distance." That brutal line made headlines across Europe, cementing just how toxic Garrick's name had become. And then came the family fallout. Paparazzi camped outside his mansion, capturing tense moments that spilled into tabloids. His wife, usually smiling at public events, was photographed storming out of their home after what insiders described as a heated argument. Though she didn't make a public statement, her silence spoke volumes. Neighbors whispered that she had begged him to apologize early on, fearing the scandal would consume their children's lives, but he refused, doubling down instead. Sure enough, the kids weren't spared either. Reports surfaced that classmates teased them mercilessly, calling their father the hat snatcher. Parents at their private school reportedly demanded meetings with administrators, worried the media frenzy would disrupt the entire campus. It wasn't just Garrick's career on the line, it was his family's peace, stripped away by one arrogant decision. Even his private getaways were ruined. Normally, Garrick retreated to his villa on the Adriatic coast, but this time paparazzi tracked him there too. Photos of him walking alone on the beach, head down, quickly spread with captions like, "From CEO to exile." Instead of luxury and leisure, his vacation turned into another round of humiliation. And the social backlash didn't stop at his front door. High-end clubs in Warsaw reportedly revoked his memberships, citing reputation concerns. Charity boards he once sat on quietly pushed him out, replacing his name with donors who wouldn't stain their image. One insider put it bluntly, "Money can buy influence, but it can't erase shame." That line trended across Twitter, turning into a viral quote meme that only made his downfall sting harder. The image of Garrick as a powerful, untouchable CEO was gone. In its place stood a man stripped of his allies, mocked by the public, and isolated in his own luxury. The scandal wasn't just ruining his business deals, it was dismantling his life piece by piece, proving that no amount of money could shield him from the wrath of a world united by one unforgettable clip. The framing was brutal. This was no longer about one stolen souvenir. It was about trust, character, and what arrogance in public revealed about arrogance in business. For a man who thought the scandal would fade, the reality was the opposite. Each new headline dragged Pietro Garrick deeper into a storm that threatened not just his image, but his empire itself. By week 2, this wasn't a meme anymore. It was an industry firestorm. Reports surfaced that at least 2 of Dragbrook's local partners had frozen projects, citing reputational concerns. Politicians smelled blood and pounced. A Warsaw councilman tweeted, "Taxpayer money should never fund arrogance," a thinly veiled jab at Garrick's now infamous hat heist. Even rival CEOs joined the chorus. One logistics executive penned a viral LinkedIn essay titled "Leadership Means Giving, Not Taking." He didn't mention Garrick by name, but everyone knew. And the essay went viral, shared thousands of times alongside the US Open clip. For a man obsessed with status, the humiliation of being scolded by peers may have cut deeper than the TikTok edits. Meanwhile, the internet crowdsourced its fury into pure spectacle. Fans dug up old interviews where Garrick bragged about his philosophy of respect, and the irony was too delicious to ignore. Parody accounts exploded overnight, with one handle at HatSnatcher CEO gaining 50,000 followers in a single week. It pumped out fake press releases like, "Dragbrook announces new product, hat removal services." TikTok creators stitched his clip into everything from Shrek parodies to Ocean's 11 heist trailers. Even sports commentators couldn't resist. During one unrelated tennis match, an announcer joked, "Let's hope today's souvenirs actually reach the kids." The laughter from the booth said it all. This wasn't niche scandal anymore. This was mainstream mockery. And then came the family blowback. Reports suggested his wife was heckled at a charity gala, whispered about as the woman with the stolen hat. A relative even told a tabloid the backlash had left Garrick isolated and furious, but instead of sympathy, fans doubled down. One viral post put it perfectly. He isolated himself when he stuffed that hat in his bag. Parents groups began tagging Dragbrook's clients directly, asking if they wanted their brands linked to a CEO who robbed a child on live TV. It was reputational quicksand, and every attempt to climb out, from legal threats to blaming the boy's parents, only dragged him deeper. By the time late-night comedians started roasting him, the damage was permanent. Garrick wasn't just a CEO in crisis, he was a cultural villain. Shorthand for greed so shameless it made the world stop and stare. In the end, his downfall wasn't measured in contracts lost or dollars burned, it was measured in reputation, a currency no lawsuit can restore. Reports say Drag Brooks' board finally forced him to step back from public-facing duties, though insiders claim he resisted until the very last second. But it was too late. The company's once clean reputation as a reliable local giant was now stained with memes, review sites, and headlines that would never let the scandal die. The most damning image wasn't even Garrick himself. It was the boy at the heart of the saga, smiling as Kamil Micrzak made it right, gifting him not just the promised hat, but a signed racket too. The gesture was celebrated worldwide as an act of integrity, the perfect contrast. One man gave, one man took, and fans crowned the boy the real winner of the US Open, turning his grin into a symbol of innocence reclaimed. Meanwhile, Garrick retreated into silence. His legal threats evaporated once attorneys reminded him that truth isn't defamation. Journalists chased him for comment, but the once confident CEO who strutted into VIP boxes had nothing left to say. His name, once tied to wealth and success, was now permanently branded with a 3-word meme: Hat Heist CEO. And beyond the memes lay a harder truth. In an era where every moment can be clipped, shared, and dissected, leaders no longer control their narratives, audiences do. Garrick's story wasn't just about one CEO's arrogance, it was a cultural referendum on entitlement. Parents used it as a cautionary tale, executives whispered about it as a PR horror story, and fans laughed. But they also remembered, because if a man worth millions can't resist robbing a child of joy, what else might he take if nobody's watching? That question will linger long after the jokes fade. And here's the kicker. If a stolen hat can take down a millionaire CEO, imagine what happens the next time arrogance collides with the internet. So don't miss it. Hit that like button, drop a comment, subscribe, and share this video. And trust me, you'll want to be here for the next scandal, because it might be even bigger. See you on the next one.